What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Kicking It with Crowder. This is episode 99, so we're one episode away from 100, guys. Thank you so much for everyone who has been around for the entire run. Gonna let a few people join real quick, and then we'll get started, guys. So we'll recap last week, go over some big games this week. We'll pick our NFL games. We're gonna keep picking those NFL games straight up the entire season. Then the college we'll do against the spread like we have always done the last 3 years. And then we'll just talk a little bit about what happened, man. MLB races are heating up, so the Atlanta Braves are 3 games up on the Philadelphia Phillies. So we're trying to close that out and win the East for the 4th straight time. So got a good show, guys. Gonna let one or two people join, and then we'll get started. Don't forget. Please like my Facebook page, Kicking It with Crowder, guys. We're continuously growing, over 1,000 follows now on the page. On Spotify, Apple, iHeart, pretty much anywhere you get your favorite podcast, guys, I am there. So be sure to check it out, and we'll let someone join real quick, and then we'll get started. Hope y'all are having a good week so far. NFL tonight. Carolina Panthers, the new look Carolina Panthers, Sam Darnold, Matt Rule, their head coach, takes on the Houston Texans. Deshaun Watson, of course, is not going to play. It doesn't make much sense to be paying a guy that much money, but he is not going to play tonight. Davis Mills, Greater Atlanta Christian quarterback out of class of 2017. He went to Stanford. He's going to make his first career start tonight on Thursday Night Football. So, all right. So, there we go. We got our first person. On the live. Guys, be sure to share this out. Like the page. Like the post. Like the page. Like the post. Like the page. Like the post. What's up, Julian? My man, Julian. How's Georgia State doing so far, man? I haven't talked to you in a while. I haven't been on here, so good to see you, man. We're going to talk a lot about college football and in the NFL tonight, man, so thank you so much for joining. We'll go ahead and get started now that we got someone on it. All right, so Kicking It with Crowder begins in 3, 2, 1. What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Kicking It with Crowder. This is episode 99, and this show is special. It's brought to you by Crazy Daisy, okay? Guys, wedding venues, if you're in town and you just need to get your girl some flowers, Kimberly Jordan will hook you up. Be sure to get in contact with her. She is the owner of Crazy Daisy. She does a really, really good job. So Alabama did advance last weekend, 31-29 against Florida. I did take the Florida Gators at the Swamp. I just thought that many points, 14.5 points, is just too many. It looked a little scary early on. Alabama, of course, got up 18 in the first quarter, but then Florida was actually able to run the football, and they ran for 245 yards to Alabama's 91. That does not happen very often to the University of Alabama. So Dan Mullen was able to get that going. Anthony Richardson, the highly touted quarterback, did not play, out with a hamstring injury. Emory Jones played pretty good. He did have an interception. Left some plays out there, but at the end of the day, this Florida team is going to be competitive. It's going to be a really good game with the University of Georgia in just a few weeks. They're down there in Jacksonville. So Alabama remains undefeated and at number 1, but if you ask me, what I think about Alabama now versus what I thought about Alabama last week at this same time, I will tell you that I think Alabama showed some holes. They showed some ways that they can be defeated. They showed that, this team is not as powerful and not as potent offensively as this last year's team. And then the front seven, for Alabama, who, they were supposed to be, a 1-year experience. They do have some linebackers hurt right now, but they were able to run. Florida was able to run. That front seven may not be as vaunted as once thought. So I do think that Florida did put a blueprint out there to get after the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now on offense, yes, Bryce Young has 10 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's going to be a very good quarterback this year. They have hella receivers, Robinson at running back, good offensive line. So yes, the offense still looks good, but the defense, did look questionable against the Florida Gators. I would still say Alabama's my number one team until someone beats them. That Ole Miss game in 2 weeks just got a whole lot more interesting. But Alabama, 31-29 over Florida. Florida does cover. I get that game, and we'll go over my picks as we always do. 3-2 last week, and Florida was one of the wins. So, Florida, outrushed them 245-91. That does not happen very much, but I just don't think they're as dominant as they are this year as they were last year. And I think that was evident with how Florida was able to keep it so close. Yes, last year they kept it within a touchdown, but it was never really in doubt. This game kind of got, scary at the end. So, Bama D-line struggled versus the Florida offensive line. Bryce Young offense, they're going to be explosive, but, this Ole Miss game in 2 weeks is going to be back and forth. This Ole Miss offense has a firepower to it. Matt Corral had 4 touchdowns rushing last week versus Tulane, 3 touchdowns on the ground through the air. So, I'm telling you, this is going to be a shootout. Last year, I know Ole Miss scored a bunch of points on Alabama. I think they're going to score a bunch more this year. It's going to be a shootout, so we'll see. Ole Miss, last year at the end of the season, they were one of my teams to watch out for in the top 10. People call me crazy, but Ole Miss is sneaking on up there. And then Alabama also has to play Ole Miss. They play LSU. They play Texas A&M. They play Arkansas, Auburn, and they could play Georgia or Florida in the SEC championship. So, just a tough schedule this year. Of course, they had to play Miami. They throttled Miami. And Alabama's going to be good. I can't wait to see if they do make it to the SEC championship, who they play. UGA, guys, destroyed the University of South Carolina 40-13. UGA gave up their first touchdown on the season. So, they were upset too. They did not want that. They did not want that touchdown scored. Luke Doty and the South Carolina offense, they're just outmatched. They're just, they're just not as good as Georgia, But they didn't really quit. They showed a lot of fight in this game. 40-13. They covered the spread. The 31 points was just a lot. I did take that one as well. So with the 2 SEC teams with the big spreads, I won both those games. South Carolina and Florida. Thank you guys. Appreciate that. But JT Daniels, any noise about JT Daniels may lose his starting job to the mailman, that's just not going to happen. JT Daniels looked really good. He was 23 of 31, 303 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he's just, this quarterback room, they push each other. They got Carson Beck, they got the mailman, they got JT Daniels, they got Vandergriff. So, do you think UF can hang with Georgia? I definitely think that UF is probably going to give Georgia the best game of the year. Now, the matchup for me is this UGA front 7, which I think is the best in the country. Their secondary does have some issues. Tyke Smith injured right now. Young secondary. Some transfers added in as well. So I think that's where they struggle in the secondary. But man, front 7, Jordan Davis and Adam Anderson on that defensive line to go along with Nolan Smith, the former number 1 overall player. Then you sprinkle in Nakobe Dean, who is just the leader of that defense. They're very successful. They're able to get to that football. They rally to the football as a unit. Jordan Davis running, under, 4'8", 4'9", 40 for how big he is. The guy's just got to be shooting up draft boards. Just a prime example of why, hey, if you have a chance to go pro in the NFL and you're a junior, you need to make the right decision. Because, yes, some guys like a Jamar Chase can sit out the entire season and get picked number 5 overall. Some guys can drop and maybe not get drafted at all. Look what happened to Dylan Moses last year. Sometimes you take bad advice and you go pro and you're not ready. And Jordan Davis would have easily been drafted last year. I'm not trying to say that. Jordan Davis probably would have been a 2nd to 3rd round guy last year. Now he's solidifying himself as maybe the best defensive lineman in the country. And now he may make a lot of money, okay? So he did the right thing. Yes, Jamie Newman, you look what he did last year, opting out. That hurt the Georgia Bulldog team. They couldn't find a quarterback, and then he doesn't get drafted, and now he can't even find a job. So you just go, you get bad advice. Always go back, put it on tape. Justin Fields even. Yes, Justin Fields went 11th. He's starting for the Chicago Bears. But just imagine if he would have came back this year with this Ohio State team with those 2 first-round receivers. He'd be the number 1 quarterback off the board this year without a doubt. Boom. I mean, I think that's easy to say. So, at the end of the day, yes, he chose the right thing getting paid. But I'm saying some guys go and they don't even get drafted. Or some guys go in their 5th-round pick. And Jordan Davis made the right decision by coming back and going back to UGA. But yes, I think this Georgia team is going to compete with Florida very, very well. Florida does have a bunch of playmakers, but Georgia has playmakers on the defensive side of the football. And then their problem against Florida last year was the offense. Stetson Bennett just wasn't able to get it done. JT Daniels now gets his shot at this Florida defense. And health. They got to get these guys healthy, but Jermaine Burton is starting to come along a little bit. I saw Smith, the speedster, made a big play, a big touchdown. So, at the end of the day, you got 4 guys who can run the football: McIntosh, White, Cook, and Milton, Kendall Milton. So then you got a good offensive line. Bowers as a tight end is really coming into his own. So yeah, I mean, I think Richardson's going to give that front 7 some fits. Here's the thing: you gotta contain him. You can't let him get those 70, 80-yard plays. You got to let him get his 3-4 yards a pop when he carries the football. But the thing is, when he does run that football, you got to hit him. You got to hit him hard every single time he runs that football. Just let him know, hey, you're going to be in for something today. So I think Richardson may be that guy by the time UGA takes on Florida, so we'll definitely see, but that'll be the matchup for me. Anthony Richardson and this Florida offense versus that UGA defense. I think UGA's offense is going to be fine versus Florida's defense, so we'll see what happens. Ole Miss, man. Ole Miss is a team to watch for. I got them circled right here. They are very explosive. I'm not sure. They try to run plays, 7 seconds, 10 seconds every single time. Get to the line, run a play. Get to the line, run a play. And, at the end of the day, this defense in the front 7 is the best in the country. I think once the defense gets Tyke Smith back, and then the offense gets Darnell Washington back, and then George Pickens, that bad man, comes back, I think that is when you really, really start to see this UGA team take off. They've looked really, really good, but they can look even better. They can be better. I think they'll tell you that. Front 7, best in the country. With Tyke Smith can complete this secondary, and Keely Ringo starts playing up to his potential, and Lewis Kine, a big hitting safety, can come across. You're looking at a really, really good defense as a whole. Yes, they played good, but I think they can even play better, and that is scary. Okay, so Tyke Smith, not back yet. Him and Washington are now 5 weeks out post-surgery, so they should be coming back very, very soon. Pickens is running routes here at practice, so really, really good news down there in Athens. Auburn, guys. Auburn went up to Penn State and was in a hostile environment, and yes, they made a couple mistakes. Kobe Hudson, the big fumble that put Penn State in great field position, that was one of the, if not the play of the game, one of the biggest plays of the game. The targeting at the goal line was Jacoby got thrown out. That was huge. Not kicking a field goal, going for it, with 3 minutes left, not trying to kick a field goal and then maybe getting the ball back and then, going for the game-winning touchdown. I thought that was a mistake by Brian Harsin. They tried to go for it both times. They had the ball when the clock expired. They were about on the 20-yard line, but Auburn just made too many mistakes to win the game. Bo Nix didn't lose the ball game, but he didn't go out there and win the ball game. That's what one of my Auburn friends told me, who is an Auburn fan. And after watching the game, I kind of can't argue with him at all. Tank Bigsby was great. 23 carries for 102 yards, 2 touchdowns. I said for Auburn to win the game, he needed more like 150, 175 yards and a couple touchdowns. So it looked like, they just needed a little bit more. Tank Bigsby, the fumble by Kobe Hudson really hurt him. The targeting call hurt him. they beat themselves. I mean, I'm not saying Penn State didn't play good, but at the end of the day, you go into a crowd with 109,000, you got a whiteout, really hostile environment, you have to play perfect, and they didn't. So Auburn they'll play Georgia State this week, and then after that, they will play LSU in 2 weeks. So at LSU, by the way, and LSU and Auburn, of course, beat them really, really bad last year. So LSU's trying to get some revenge for that game last year, but Auburn can still get some things done this year. They haven't lost a game in conference yet. Of course, they have to play LSU, they have to play Georgia, they have to play Alabama, they have to play Ole Miss, A&M, Arkansas. I mean, just a gauntlet of a schedule in the SEC West this year because A&M's good, Arkansas is good, Ole Miss is good. Hell, Mississippi State's not bad either. So, I mean, this whole SEC West is just unreal. I had Auburn. I took the 6 points with Auburn. They should have covered, really. They should have kicked the field goal when they were down 8. To make it a 5-point game and then play defense, got some timeouts left. Maybe you try to score and win the game instead of scoring and then having to go for 2. I didn't like that. But, at the end of the day, Auburn did not win. They'll tell you they didn't play good enough and they got to play better. So, Penn State now has 2 victories against Wisconsin and Auburn. So, they have 2 of the biggest victories all season so far. I think Georgia still has the best victory of the year versus Clemson, even though Clemson, this offense, and they struggled with Georgia Tech last week, won 14-6. The offense has not looked good. Defenses look pretty good, but they have not on offense. So, guys, thank you so much for following me tonight. I really appreciate it. Don't forget, I'm on Apple, I'm on Spotify, I'm on the iHeartRadio app, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere you get your podcast, guys, I am there. I also want to take a time to shout out my other sponsors, guys. So, Crazy Daisy is hosting this episode, but I also want to shout out Ivy Sports Park Bar and Grill. I also want to shout out Greer Home Solutions, and I also want to shout out F&M Cigars. So, those are my 4 sponsors, guys. Thank you so much to all these wonderful companies and wonderful people for taking their time out and sponsoring my podcast. Hometown podcast, guys, supporting local. So thank you guys so much. Be sure to check all of these companies and locations out. Ivy Sports Park Bar and Grill, great place to have some dinner. Greer Home Solutions, a great if you need renovations done at your house, you've been wanting to do something, you just need a little bit of help with the vision. Jacob Greer is great at what he does. Check out his Facebook page. Check out their commercials, Greer Home Solutions. F&M Cigars. I know a lot of people like smoking cigars. If you like smoking cigars, you're in the Phoenix City or Columbus area, go check out F&M Cigars. And then Crazy Daisy, guys, like I said, she specializes in flowers, weddings. Valentine's Day, guys, is coming up closer than you think. So if you need anything, be sure to check out all these guys' pages on Facebook or check them out on Google. All right, guys, so thank you guys so much for joining me. Hit that like button, hit the comment button down below, share this out. Let's get this thing out there, all right? Let's go. So, I want to talk a little bit about my top 25. So, you're going to the Georgia State-Auburn game. Nix will annihilate us. And Bo Nix is a really good athlete. Like, a lot of people don't think that Bo Nix is very athletic. Like, that guy is athletic. So, he's probably going to really show out against a Georgia State team who's just going to be outmatched. Nothing against that. They just don't have the same type of caliber of players that Auburn does, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Auburn is a very good football team. So, I want to talk a little bit about my top 25, or I'm sorry, this is the AP coaches top 25. So, Bama still remains at number 1. UGA is number 2. Oregon at number 3, guys. Oklahoma, Oregon probably has the best win. I said Georgia over Clemson, but I'd say Oregon over Ohio State in Columbus. That was a pretty good win. What's up, Roderick? Thanks for watching, Coach Drew. I appreciate you. So, Bama at 1, UGA 2, Oregon at 3, Oklahoma at 4, even though they've struggled. Spencer Rattler hasn't been able to get going yet. They've had some close games. They had the close game versus Tulane. They also had a very close game last week versus Nebraska. But they have won. At the end of the day, all you have to do is win. They did win. Iowa rounds out the top 5, and the Big Ten now has Iowa and then Penn State here at number 6 and Ohio State at 10. So they have 3 teams inside the top 10 right now for the Big Ten. Texas A&M and their backup quarterback, who is from Buford High School here in Georgia. He is now the starting quarterback at Texas A&M with Haynes King out with a foot or leg injury. So we'll see what the Georgia native does for Texas A&M going further. Desmond Ridder and the Cincinnati team looked good last week versus Indiana. This is the team to watch for me if a lot of these teams lose. If Alabama loses, a UGA loses, Oregon slips up, Oklahoma, some of these top teams in front of them, if they slip up and lose a ball game and there's 1 or 2 undefeated teams, I think Cincinnati has a really, really good possibility of getting into the college football playoff. They have tremendous defense. They have one of the best corners in all of football. Desmond Ridder now in his 3rd season starting for the Cincinnati Bearcats. Their offense looks more explosive. Their defense is shut down. Luke Fickell's done an amazing job. He may be, looking for a new job next year because a lot of teams are going to be coming for him. Look at USC. Look for some really high-profile teams to go after Luke Fickell. He's done a great job at Cincinnati. Dabo Swinney does beat Georgia Tech 14-6, but they look kind of like Oklahoma in their wins, just not very impressive. They do win, but just not in an impressive manner. 14-6 over Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, who have struggled and lost to Northern Illinois earlier in the season. Ohio State, guys, comes in at number 10. They lost to Oregon at home. C.J. Stroud kind of dealing with an injury. He will not play. They will get their backups in. I think they're playing. They're playing a team just that is inferior to them, and they're going to rest C.J. Stroud in this one. All right, so UF, guys, they're coming in at number 11. I think they should be up. They played Alabama as close as anyone has played them in the last couple of seasons, and they drop in the poll. I think they should be, right up there, 7 or 8. Notre Dame, they've won all 3 games, but they haven't looked good in doing so. They struggled with FSU, who's now 0-3. Bunch of bullshit down there going on in Tallahassee. And then they've also struggled with Toledo at home. Ole Miss is the team right now who's coming in at 13, who I think should be higher and will be higher. This offense is explosive. I'm telling you, this offense is like going to score 45, 50 points every single game. Matt Corral is the truth. He's going to be one of my top quarterbacks going into next season. I can guarantee you that. That's a team to watch out for, and they play Alabama in 2 weeks, and if they pull the upset, they'll jump right up in there in the top 3 or 4 in the country. All right, number 14, one of my playoff teams coming into the season, guys, Iowa State Cyclones haven't been able to get it going. They had 20 guys coming back, Breece Hall, Brock Purdy. Get it together, Matt Campbell. Let's go. Let's get this thing rolling. You still got a chance, all right? BYU is coming in a sneaky 3-0 there at number 15. Arkansas, Sam Pittman. What an amazing job he's done down there at Arkansas. Great recruiter. Has the quarterback Jefferson. Has some weapons. They have one of the best safeties and then one of the best running backs in the country. 2 guys who can get it done. Arkansas is sneaky. Look out A&M this weekend. I'm telling you, Arkansas is going to give you a good game. Coastal Carolina comes in at 17. Grayson McCall. They did beat Buffalo 28-25 this past week. Was a little bit too close for my liking. They're really explosive on offense, but can they make the necessary stops on defense? Wisconsin comes in at 18. They have that huge game. They're favored by 6 points against Notre Dame this week. I'll talk about that game a little bit later on. Michigan and John Harbaugh come in at number 19. We'll see when they actually play somebody. Michigan State, they have looked good so far. They come in at 20 after defeating Miami, who's just gotten off to a terrible start as well. Miami and Florida State right now, man, they're in shambles. UNC at 21. Fresno State, after the big victory versus UCLA last week, UCLA now drops to number 24. Auburn, even though they kept it close with Penn State, they remain in the same at 23 in the poll. And then number 25, Kansas State. Of course, they're led by North Dakota State's old coach. He's doing a good job down there in Manhattan, Kansas. So I want to talk a little bit about these games this week. So, of course, we highlight the three teams this show is about: the UGA Bulldogs, Auburn Tigers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. UGA, of course, is playing Vanderbilt. That should be a slaughterhouse. They do not expect Vanderbilt to move the football very well against this UGA defense, and then Georgia's offense is just going to be too much to handle for the Vanderbilt Commodores. I see blowout 42-7, 49-6, something like that. Auburn goes to Georgia. Georgia State will travel to Auburn, and Julian, who is the Georgia State alum, has already told you guys Auburn's going to annihilate Georgia State. So he said it, not me, but look for Auburn to get back on track and score a lot of points this week versus Georgia State. And then Bama plays Southern Miss. I'm sure that Nick Saban, wasn't very nice in the film session. I'm sure he had a lot to say versus Alabama, so look for this Alabama team to take it out on Southern Miss, and I like Alabama big in this ball game. Some other games to look out for: Notre Dame, Wisconsin at Soldier Field, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Clemson, NC State, Iowa State, and Baylor. Iowa State's favored by a touchdown in that one. I think that one's going to be a pretty close game. Tennessee, Florida, man, can't get any love from the SEC. Can't get any love, period, because it's just not a rivalry game. Tennessee cannot beat Florida. So this game used to be one of those games they talked about a lot. I haven't heard one word about it this entire week. You wouldn't even know that Florida is playing Tennessee. That's how bad Tennessee has been against the Florida Gators, and I think Tennessee lost last week. I'm not even sure if they won or lost, but Tennessee is just, you don't even hear about Tennessee. I mean, are they even in the SEC anymore? Can someone please help me try to find Tennessee? I don't even know. I don't think there's any more Tennessee fans anymore. Peyton Manning, does he even claim Tennessee? I mean, what is going on down in Knoxville? Can someone tell me? I mean, Tennessee plays Florida this weekend, people. Let's go. All right, UNC, Georgia Tech. That's going to be a really good game. Sam Howell versus Georgia Tech team. Look for UNC to put up some points. Can Georgia Tech score enough to keep up with UNC and Sam Howell? West Virginia, Oklahoma. This is a game. I like West Virginia with the points in this one. Oklahoma's favored 17 points, and they've looked like that so far this year. That's a weird game for me. And then LSU, Mississippi State. Whatever the spread is, I know it's 2.5, but I don't know if LSU is favored or Mississippi State's favored. LSU better win this ball game. If they lose this game back-to-back years to Mississippi State, I'm telling you, Coach O could be gone. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there. Big games to talk about. Big games going on this weekend. Of course, we're going to talk about my locks from last week. I told you, of course, we went 3-2. I'll make my picks this week. Feel very confident about my picks. I want to have a 5-0 week for you guys, so hopefully this is the week. But before we move on and talk about the NFL, we talked a little bit about college and everything. I want to talk about the MLB. So in the AL, guys, we've had two teams clinch. We've had Tampa Bay Rays and the Chicago White Sox clinch. Tampa Bay has not clinched their division, but they have clinched at least a playoff berth, either a wild card or the AL East crown. The White Sox today clinched the division, their first division championship in 13 years since 2008. So the White Sox, my pick to go to the World Series this year, has done the first step and made the playoffs. So you have 3 spots remaining. One spot, of course, is going to be in the Central, and the AL West. And that is going to be taken by the Houston Astros. They're just 3 games away from clinching. Look for them to do that possibly by the end of the weekend. Seattle and Oakland, guys, are both 83-69 with Houston over 90 wins. They're going to win the division. They haven't done it yet. So basically, you have Tampa Bay, White Sox, and Houston all in, and then you got 4 teams fighting for 2 playoff spots. You have the New York Yankees and the Toronto Blue Jays, both tied for second in the AL wild card, and they're 2 games behind Boston Red Sox. So the Boston Red Sox guys they were doing really good, and then they had a rough August, but now they're playing good again. So now they're in first place they're in the first place in the AL wild card spot. New York's played really well, but Toronto's played good as well. So it's basically going to be, I mean, Seattle or Oakland could get in there. But to me, it's Boston, New York, and Toronto. As much as it pains me to say this, I have Toronto and the Yankees in the playoffs. So I'm kind of rooting for both of them to get in over the Red Sox. I like the Red Sox. I just didn't think they were going to, be as good as they were this year. Alex Cora, I took him for granted because he had this team playing really, really good at the beginning of the season. But I had Toronto and I had the Yankees both in at the beginning of the season. So that's who I'm going to stay with. But I wouldn't be surprised if Boston did get in. You could have Tampa Bay, White Sox, Houston, Boston, and New York, which would just be huge for MLB. Just 5 really good teams. And then you could have Boston and New York playing in the AL wildcard game, just one game. Oh my gosh, that MLB, that's what you want. I'm telling you, that's what you want. And then you'd have the winner of that playing Tampa Bay and then the White Sox and Houston. I like the White Sox in that series versus Houston. I like the White Sox still going to the World Series. That's my pick. I'm sticking to it. In the NL, guys, Milwaukee has pulled away in the Central. They haven't clinched the Central, but they have clinched the playoff spots, and Milwaukee's in. San Francisco's clinched their playoff berth, and the Dodgers have clinched their playoff berth. They are in. There's 3 teams in. We just don't know who the NL West winner is yet. It's probably going to be San Francisco now. They're up 2 games on the Dodgers. So you have the Dodgers coming in at the first wild card spot, and then you have St. Louis at 83 and 69. So they're in the second. They've won 11 in a row. I mean, they're just unreal right now. St. Louis is the hottest team, and I'm glad that if the Braves do get in, they're gonna play Milwaukee. And Milwaukee has a good pitching staff, but I'd much rather play Milwaukee than San Francisco, LA, or St. Louis right now. I mean, so I'm not really mad that if the Atlanta Braves hold on and they're up 3 games, so if they just hold on, they win the NL East. They're going to play Milwaukee in the first round. They do have a 3-head monster on the staff, but with the way the Atlanta Braves can hit, and then the pitching has been a lot better recently for the Atlanta Braves. I'm not as concerned as I would be if we were playing the Giants or we were playing the St. Louis Cardinals, who we lost to in the first round 2 years ago. So, Atlanta, like I said, 3 games up, and then you have St. Louis, who's probably going to get in the wild card spot. So, we'll see what happens. Got 2 weeks left, maybe 10 days left of baseball. And the most intriguing thing right now going on in Major League Baseball is this AL MVP race. Shohei Ohtani versus Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is leading the league in average, and he's leading the league in home runs. He's 10 RBIs behind Salvador Perez, who's hit 47 home runs and broke Johnny Bench's career home run record this year. Congratulations to him. He should be up for AL MVP as well. He's probably the 3rd guy behind Shohei Ohtani and Vladimir Guerrero. Ohtani at one point looked like a runaway winner, but now Vladimir Guerrero, if he wins a Triple Crown, I mean, gosh, who knows? You may have Ohtani winning the MVP. You could have Ohtani win the Cy Young, Guerrero win the MVP. But I mean, how it's been done, it's just so hard not to give it to Shohei Ohtani. The guy is just unreal on the mound. 21 starts on the mound. He was 9-2, 10-2 with a 3.3 ERA, 45 home runs, 5 triples, 25 doubles, 95 RBIs. I mean, unreal what he's doing, but it's unreal what Vladimir Guerrero is doing. He's turning into that ball player that everyone thought he could be, that everyone thought he should be. He's turning into that. So shout out to you guys. It's a shame that one of those guys is not going to walk away with the AL MVP. It's really, really, sad that maybe they'll tie like McNair and Manning did one year for the MVP. So who knows? But all right, guys. So I want to talk a little bit about, before I get into my NFL picks and before I get into my locks, I want to talk about my picks last week, guys. So I want to talk first my NFL picks. I went 9-7 last week after what's up, Joseph? After a 10-6 first week. So I'll go ahead and name off my winners. I had Washington. I had Cleveland. I had the LA Rams. I had New England one. I had San Francisco. Had Denver, Arizona, Tampa Bay, and then I had Kansas. Some Kansas City lost. I also had Green Bay. So those were my 9 wins and my losses, guys. So I had Cincinnati over Chicago. They lost. I also had Miami over Buffalo. That was a damn beatdown. 35-0. Tua got knocked out of the game. That was a bad choice. I also had Pittsburgh over the Raiders. I had the Raiders covering, but man, they beat Pittsburgh outright. Had New Orleans over Carolina like everyone else did. I also had the Chargers over Dallas, Seattle over Tennessee, and Kansas City over Baltimore. So a couple of those games were upsets. Could have probably went 12-4 on the week, but I'll take 9-7. And I want to get into my picks now. So like I said, 19-13 on the year. NFL tonight, you have Carolina versus Houston. So this Carolina defense is really, really good. They get it done on all 3 levels. They have Brian Burns and Derek Brown on the defensive line. Then they have a guy like Shaq Thompson in the middle playing linebacker. Then they have a free-roaming Jeremy Chin at safety who can play in the box, can play free safety, come up and hit you. And then they also have a guy like J.C. Horn, who they draft this year in the first round, starting for the Carolina Panthers. Those are your 4 cornerstones in the next 5 to 7 years for this Carolina team. They're built on defense, and they're going to get it done on all 3 levels. They're going to get after the quarterback with you with Brian Burns, stuff up that zero technique, that one technique with Derek Brown. They're also going to fly around the football with Shaq Thompson and Jeremy Chin flying around. And then they have the lockdown corner that everyone needs with the NFL blood running through his veins, J.C. Horn. Of course, Joe Horn was his father, the New Orleans Saints great. So Carolina, Matt Rule, love what they do. They have DJ Moore. They have Anderson for Darnold. Yes, the offensive line needs to get a little bit better, but it also helps a lot when you have a guy like Christian McCaffrey who you can hand the ball off to, throw it out of the backfield, check down, screens. I mean, just the way you're able to use him and utilize him. Joe Brady is a great offensive coordinator. Look for him to get the ball in unique ways into Christian McCaffrey's hands tonight. Now, the Houston Texans are better than people thought they would be this year without Deshaun Watson. David Culley going into his first year, the former Baltimore Ravens wide receiver. So, they don't have Tyrod Taylor tonight. They're going to go with the quarterback rookie, Davis Mills, who I'm telling you, the last 6 quarterbacks to make their debut on Thursday Night Football are 5-1. But he threw a lot of picks in the preseason, 4 picks in the preseason, threw a pick last week. I think Davis Mills is going to struggle a little bit. I think he can be a decent quarterback down the road, but needed more time to develop, getting thrown into the fire. And it's going to be against a very good Carolina defense. What's up, Gary? Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Look for Carolina to win big tonight over Houston. I like the over 43. I like Carolina with the 8. I'm thinking, 34-17, something like that. I like Carolina by 10 plus. So we'll see what happens tonight. But I will take Carolina in the game outright. I'll take Carolina. Arizona versus Jacksonville. This is going to be a battle of 2 mixed match teams. Look for Kyler Murray to go out there and have a field day versus Jacksonville defense. I like Arizona. Tennessee and Indianapolis. The Colts, they have a tough first 5 games. After that, the schedule does get a lot easier. I have them starting 0-3 to start the season. I have it no different this way. I have them losing to Tennessee. Tennessee gets back on track after that big win versus Seattle last week, and they moved to 2-1. Baltimore, 1-1 versus 0-2 Detroit. Detroit's going to be a little bit better than people think. They're tough. They're going to compete each week, but Baltimore's just too good. I like Baltimore in this one. Washington versus Buffalo. Both teams sitting at 1-1. Washington's defense is very good, but I think Josh Allen and this offense is the difference for me. I'll take Buffalo in this game. Sorry, guys. Wheezing a little bit. Let me get my inhaler. All right. Sorry about that. All right, New Orleans versus New England. This is one of the games of the week for me. This is a toss-up. You have Sean Payton in this New Orleans offense who struggled last week versus Carolina. Had 2 interceptions, Jameis Winston did. I think New Orleans gets back on track in a very close game. 26-23, Mac Jones throws a key interception late and gets New Orleans in field goal position. They win 26-23. Kansas City versus the Chargers. Justin Herbert last week should have won that game versus Dallas. Had a key interception in the red zone. Kansas City, of course, should have beaten Baltimore as well. The late fumble by Edwards-Helaire was really the game changer. Then they couldn't stop Lamar Jackson on 4th and 1. I like Kansas City over the Chargers in this one. Kansas City gets 2-1. The Atlanta Falcons take on the New York Giants. The Giants are 0-2 for the 6th straight year. Falcons are 0-2, I think, for at least the 2nd or 3rd straight year. Matt Ryan. If this is a game where you got to get back on track, my friend. This is if the Atlanta Falcons want to have any chances at all to get hot, you have an easier schedule right now. You face the Giants, you face the Jets, you face Washington, Carolina. You can win some of these ball games. You got to start with against the New York Giants, and I think Arthur Smith in Atlanta do the job. 28-27 versus the Giants. I'm taking them right now, and the Falcons get off the snide and get their first victory of the young season. Chicago versus Cleveland. Justin Fields versus Cleveland defense in his first start. Good luck, buddy. You got Clowney on one side, you got Myles Garrett on the other. I'll go with Cleveland in this one. Cincinnati versus Pittsburgh. Yes, the Cincinnati team is very improved, but I think that Mike Tomlin is going to do what he can to get this defense, Minka Fitzpatrick, Devin Bush, some of these guys, J.J. Watt, to get after Joe Burrow, make enough plays. I got Pittsburgh 24-20 in this game. Denver versus New York Jets. Zach Wilson saw a ghost last week versus Bill Belichick. Zach Wilson was very high on him before the draft, still high on him, but he did struggle last week. I'm going to call it what it is. Did not look very good, but not a lot of quarterbacks do look good against Bill Belichick, but he's got to get better, got to improve, and got to just hold on to the football, value that football, but I like Denver versus Jets team. LA versus Tampa Bay. This is a toss-up for me. Tampa Bay, I was going to go with them, but Antonio Brown is most likely out of the game. I changed last minute to the LA Rams. Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald versus Tom Brady. That's the matchup for me. Watch out. But I like the Rams in this one. Not going to take the Bucks. You have what is this? Miami versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Miami, Tua Tagovailoa is out. Jacoby Brissett will make the start. Miami coming off a 35-0 defeat last week. Las Vegas Raiders coming off 2 huge wins over the Ravens and the Steelers. I'm going to take the Las Vegas Raiders on this one. Seattle, Minnesota. This game scares me a little bit. Seattle's favored by 1 point on the road versus Minnesota. This is a trap game if I've ever seen one. I'm going to take Seattle on this one, but would not be shocked if Minnesota gets their first win and Seattle falls to 1-2. San Francisco, Green Bay. San Francisco's had the best of Aaron Rodgers the last 2 times they played in 2019, but I'm rolling with Aaron Rodgers on this one. RELAX. Everybody, they're going to be just fine. 2-1. Green Bay and San Francisco falls to 2-1. And then Philly, Dallas, guys. Jalen Hurts versus Dak Prescott on Monday Night Football. CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper versus Devontae Smith and Kenneth Gainwell and these young Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Philly defensive line is the matchup for me versus this banged-up Cowboys offensive line. Leo Collins is out. Fletcher Cox is going to have a field day. I'll take Philadelphia in this one. Very, very close game, 26-23. Philly over Dallas. So those are my picks, guys. One more time, I'll run by them. I got Carolina, Arizona, Tennessee, Baltimore, Buffalo, New Orleans, Kansas City, Atlanta, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Denver, Los Angeles Rams, the Las Vegas Raiders, Seattle, Green Bay, and Philadelphia, guys. So those are my picks this weekend for the NFL. 10-6 first week, 9-7 last week, so I'm 19-13 on the year, guys. So we'll see how we end up doing throughout the entire season. And I want to talk a little bit about my locks before we get out of here, guys. one more time, thank you guys for my sponsors. I want to give them one more shout out before we get out of here. Big shout out to the Ivy Sports Bar and Grill. We'll be doing my show and trivia there next Thursday. What's tomorrow? Next Thursday, guys, whatever that date is. I think it's the 2nd or 1st, October 1st or 2nd. So we'll be there next Thursday at Ivy Park Sports Bar and Grill. Greer Home Solutions, another one of my sponsors. If you need any home renovations, be sure to contact Jacob Greer. F&M Cigars, guys. If you need any cigars and you're in the Phoenix City or Columbus area, definitely check them out. They're right across the 13th Street Bridge. And then, last but not least, Crazy Daisy, who actually is powering this episode tonight. Be sure to contact Kimberly Jordan if you need any flowers. You have a wedding coming up, please contact her. She's really, really great, okay? So, my locks before we get out of here, guys. I want to talk about my picks last week. I was 3-2 against the spread. I had Cincinnati minus 3.5 over Indiana. They cover. I had South Carolina plus 31.5 over UGA. They cover. And I had Florida plus 15.5 over Alabama. They cover. So I was 3-0 on those two. And I was 0-2 on these last two picks. Had Auburn plus 6. What up, Lance? I had Auburn plus 6 over Penn State. At the end of the day, Auburn had chances to cover. I think Auburn should have kicked a field goal with about 3 minutes left. They would have got it down to 5. So, it's all good, man. You can run it back. All you have to do is, as soon as I get done, you'll be able to run it back and watch the whole thing, bro. So I appreciate you watching. But Auburn should have covered the plus 6. Maybe could have won the game versus Penn State. And then Northwestern, man. Unbelievable. I had Northwestern as my lock of the week. Northwestern minus 2.5 over Duke. And they just shit the bed. They go out there, they lose by a touchdown. They don't even win the game. They lose to Duke, who has looked awful this year. Lost to Charlotte. Had a close game versus North Carolina A&T. And Northwestern just goes out there and loses to Duke. And in just a surprising game. I really did not see that coming. So I'm sorry if you did listen to me on that bet. Let me know. I do apologize. I'm 3-2 last week, 15-9-1 on the season. So 6 games above 500. If you tell me each week and you bet 100 on it, you'll be up $600. All right. So 15-9-1 on the season. And I'm going with Liberty minus 5.5 over Syracuse for my first game. Malik Willis takes on the Syracuse team who they beat last year. Going to try to beat another ACC. Trying to beat the same Syracuse team they beat last year. 73% of the people are on Liberty on this game. 73% of the money is going towards Liberty in this game. My next game, Notre Dame plus 6.5 over a Wisconsin team. I just think that this game is more of an even type 1-2 points versus a 6.5 point. If you want to, you can even buy a half point and get that to 7. Then you can lose by a touchdown and still win the game. If Notre Dame loses by a field goal or a touchdown, you still cover. So I like Notre Dame plus 6.5 over Wisconsin. 76% of the money is going towards Notre Dame plus 6.5. Kentucky, guys. Kentucky is playing a South Carolina team who cannot score any points offensively. They're decent on defense. They gave up 40 to UGA. JT Daniels had a big game. Look for Will Levis, the Penn State transfer, to get on track. I like Kentucky 31-17 in this game, and look for Kentucky's defense to really make a statement early on. Army 8.5 over Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio got crushed a couple weeks versus Cincinnati. This Army team has looked good early in the season. Minus 8.5 points. I like it. I like this Army team by 11 or 12 points. I'm going to take Army 8.5. 93% of the money is on Army. And then UCLA minus 4.5 over Stanford. They did lose last week, but their Pac-12 dreams are still intact. Stanford, a team who did beat USC a few weeks ago. This is going to be a good game. I just like Chip Kelly and this UCLA Bruins team. I like them by 6 points over Stanford. So those are my picks this week, guys. I'm going Liberty minus 5.5 over Syracuse. Notre Dame plus 6.5 over Wisconsin. Kentucky minus 5 over South Carolina. Army minus 8.5 over Ohio, and Miami of Ohio, and then UCLA minus 4.5 over Stanford, guys. Those are my picks this week. Like I said, 15-9-1 on the season, 3-2 last week. Haven't had a losing week yet. And then also, guys, I just want to let y'all know, NFL tonight, I do like the Carolina Panthers. They are 8-point favorites if you want to buy a point or two, and then bet the over as well. You can put $50 and get it to about $80. You can win about 80 if you do that. So that's my parlay of the night. Take Carolina and get them to about 6.5 points, and then the over at like 41, 42. Put 50 on it. You'll win about $80, guys. That's my bet for the night. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I really, really appreciate you guys. If you could for me, be sure to hit that like button down below. Be sure to check my Facebook page out. And I really appreciate you guys so much, man. I'll be back next week, and we'll be back live from the Ivy Sports Park Barn Grill next Thursday night at 7 o'clock, guys. Be sure to come check us out. We'll play some trivia afterwards. Some prizes will be given out. We'll have a really good time. The fall weather is finally back. It's a great time right now. This is one of my favorite times of the year. Football going on. It's starting to get cold. Just really, really fun time. It's fall, y'all. Let's go. I'm out.